Hi everybody, it's me again. Long time no see, hasn't it? I'm sorry about that. Well, I've not been able to make movies for a while since January because, well, I've had a lot going on, no privacy, and, well, working, and pretty soon I'll be moving out of state. Next month, actually, if you can believe it. So, but we're not going to talk about it in this video. Instead, we're going to talk about something that part of me is mourning. VeggieTales is dead. Yes, I, not that I care about aliens in the house, I'm glad that that's dead. But VeggieTales as a whole is dead. I mean, yes, DreamWorks fired the first shot that poisoned and slowly killed VeggieTales, and now it's all gone. Phil Vischer, Mike Nawrocki, Kurt Heinegen have all moved on. And part of me is glad that it's done, but at the same time, I miss it. I wish that they didn't stop. But how is VeggieTales for me? And no, we're not going to talk about aliens in the house for now. I could talk about that later and just how atrocious it was. So, VeggieTales in the house. Get out of here, DreamWorks, before I actually do talk about you right now. Thank you. VeggieTales as a whole, before the atrocity. I thought it was good, and I am not just speaking from a nostalgic point of view, though I did absolutely grow up with it. I found it to be good. Some areas great, but it wasn't Citizen Kane amazing, but it was just good. It was good for kids, it had something fresh, and even some cute moments for adults to laugh at. It did not dumb down to kids or pander to them the way Teletubbies would just do almost nothing but bounce around in these giant suits. And they taught legit morals, like the dangers of fibbing over and over and how it can grow into a gigantic lie, what a rumor does to a person, what else, and how hardships can happen, but but something amazing can come out of it. Morals like that. And even from the start, their first moral was about not being afraid and why to not be afraid. And that's one of the great things that I found about these morals. They don't just teach don't lie just because. No, they say don't lie because of this and how wrong it is, how it will hurt somebody, how it could hurt a lot of people. Even just one simple lie. Something like that. And actually, it was pretty good, even if some things did get exaggerated. And the animation, well, for the time that it came out, I think it was good. It didn't frighten me or horrify me. I mean, you could have Video Brinquedo for something horrific or pandering or boring, but that's not what VeggieTales did. They pretty much had all their characters were computer generated. Maybe 4 times they were hand drawn, but that was for another time. But in this series, they were all computer generated, and for the technology that they had back then, it was actually pretty good. It got the characters down, their emotions were very well expressed in their eyelids, their faces. I mean, they didn't falter. in their lip syncing or expressions. They made the right expressions, and while they didn't have irises, they didn't need them. They were just, I mean, they were fine expressing themselves without irises. And take notes on that. And eventually, when DreamWorks did take over for a little bit, the animation did get better and improved a bit, starting with Snoodle's Tale, which I'll talk about in a bit for another time. And Animat pretty much said that the animation was generic, or at least when talking about the Jonah movie. I don't know. I mean, I'm no animation expert, but I thought for what they had, they did pretty good. The colors were bright and nice, and they weren't flashy or bad or distracting from a story, but they helped bring out the story or whatever they were doing. And the characters were all pretty memorable. The writing for the characters was really good. With Phil Vischer and Mike Naraki all working on it. They knew how to balance out each character, give them a distinct personality, like the two main characters, Bob the Tomato and Larry the Cucumber. What they had Bob doing was basically be a nice storyteller who is so friendly, likes kids, and, well, can be annoyed at times by Larry's antics or other events going wrong, but he was a likable character, and Larry was the comic relief. You would think in some ways that they would put him on the same level as Patrick from SpongeBob, but actually they balanced out his comedy with some of his comedy and dramatic moments and turned him into kind of a relatable character where he could be both at times. He could be serious and he could be funny too. It was a perfect balance in character motivation. And the other characters like Junior Asparagus, Archibald, or Laura the Carrot, and so on, and Mr. Nezer, you pretty much never forgot them for the most part. But the two main focuses were almost always Bob and Larry, who opened up the show and introduced kids to what the problem was from the letter they got from the kid that they were to answer a question from through their storytelling, and eventually their verse at the end, thanks to QWERTY the computer. And by the way, if you want to know where they got that name QWERTY, just look on the keyboard starting with a Q. That's where they got the name QWERTY. 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 I think it's kind of funny. I didn't know that when I was a kid at first. But, what else did I like about it? The songs. Oh, the songs. Once you hear these, they were not forgotten. They didn't go on for an extensive long time, but they were memorable. In the way that they were written, the tempo of the music, the upbeat, or when it didn't, or when it wasn't upbeat, and just the little tunes that they sing, like "God is Bigger Than the Boogeyman" or Larry's constant silly songs. And even when somebody else was doing a silly song, like Mr. Lunt's cheeseburger song, it was actually pretty good. The themes of the songs were pretty funny and memorable. Once my sisters and I heard "Oh, Where Is My Hairbrush," we often sang it, especially when we were looking for a hairbrush. And we even would sing Pizza Angel, and Dusty always sings the rap to that Belly Button song. Yes, there is a song called Belly Button from Boys in the Sink, from Lil Joe. Check it out sometime. It's actually kind of, in some ways it's cool and funny and hey, the music's awesome. And um, even today, as an adult, it's pretty weird. I still sing God is bigger than the boogeyman. Not when I'm afraid of the dark, but when I'm afraid in life. And it's pretty cool. Like how something could stay with you for a long time and have an impact on you. And that's what VeggieTales did for me. It had an impact, and was not afraid to to show you these morals, these lessons, and even find a way to stick with you, similar to how Disney did it, if not the same way. And then eventually, DreamWorks bought the rights to VeggieTales, and it was okay. The episodes became hit and miss. I mean, the episodes before them weren't perfect per se, but they felt pretty original and fresh. Whereas, as soon as DreamWorks bought the rights, they started adding pop cultural references. Like, if they were gonna spoof off of, if they were gonna tell the story of the prodigal son, they would spoof off of The Wizard of Oz, which honestly didn't make sense to me. Or talking about obedience, they would spin off of Pinocchio, which made more sense. And their episodes were pretty hit and miss because of this. And some of their episodes I liked, like Snoodle's Tale is probably one of my favorites that they did. And that was their first one because, I mean, and I still stick with the lesson about it because it told in a Dr. Seuss kind of way that you're special. And there's a reason you're special. It tried to help with self-esteem, and it planted the first seed to help me see self-esteem and my self-worth, and try to see the self-worth in everybody. And also, my other favorite that they did was probably their last good episode, which was called It's a Meaningful Life. Yes, you can probably guess right off the top of your head what episode it had been spoofing off of. But for what they spoofed off, it was not that bad. And the lesson they taught in there was actually really good. And probably their most adult, or closest to adult as they could get. And I applaud them for that. I mean, the moral was basically that your life has a meaning, you impact people in a certain way, and there's a reason that you were chosen for this, and that this other life was maybe not for you. What would have happened if you were in this other life? And you would not have impacted people the same way. So be thankful for the life that you've been given, because you impact people in the amazing way. And after that, it all went downhill. I mean, some of their episodes after that weren't that great, and they were getting weaker and weaker until finally Noah's Ark and Atrocity in the House came out. Which I am so glad after all these years that Atrocity in the House has been put to rest. I just wish that VeggieTales wasn't. But for the time that they did run, I'm glad that they finally did stop. And I'm glad that they had it and that they made our childhood. I will never forget that for as long as I live. I love you, Phil Vischer, Mike Naraki, Bob the Tomato, Harley Cucumber, Junior Asparagus, and so on. I am gonna miss you guys, and I will never forget. And remember, God made you special, and He loves you very much. Bye! Now, where did I put my hairbrush?